that one from this class, but I like to record the things that we have going so we can use them. Okay, so a ball of clay is what we want for the decorated pinch pot. That's what this one is about, the decorated pinch pot. And so we can take it and just roll it around. Maybe I should roll slower so I don't confuse the camera. There we go, rolling slower on that. If there's any parts where they're kind of odd or something like that, you can smooth them out. Blend them in on those just by pulling the clay across. That's actually a good way to join pieces of clay together, is by pulling the clay across the seam or something like that that we're working with. Okay, so I have the ball of clay. Remember, we start with a hole in the middle. That was from our cut pinch pot demo where we're putting that in, and then we're gradually starting to thin it out. This time when we get it all thinned out, we're going to keep it though. We're not going to cut it in half. We want to have a keeper. You might be thinking of what you want to have for your surface decoration on it. One of the best tools you have as artist, a ceramic artist, is repetition and pattern. And so if you can create repetition and pattern on your surface, it's usually pretty cool and enhances the overall look. But that repetition and pattern needs to be done in an organized, ordered fashion on that. It can't just be random slashy. Unless you can show lots of control in other areas, which we spoke about before as well. If the rim starts to get a little cracked, you can smooth that out here. Also, we can tap the rim like this if you're looking to make it more precise on the height. Not necessary. You probably notice I like the uneven rim thing happening as well on the projects that I like to make. Many of the projects we looked at initially were ones that I had made demos for classes with that. Now, here's the thing. When you're making this project, you probably notice I'm taking, and I'm kind of have this sort of a thing going when I'm pinching. I'm pinching, pulling it up in this sort of a fashion when we pinch it a little bit. It's going pretty quick, but I'm pinching so it goes up. Try to avoid pinching it like this when you pull it out to the side, because what that does, it makes it wide and flat, and so it'll fall down. We want it to sit up a little bit higher, be a little bit better of a container on that one for your project. So we want to make it just a little taller on those. And our goal is somewhere between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch on that one. No thicker than 1/4 of an inch. That's one of your grading criteria that we're looking for on this one, is the thickness. It needs to be fairly thin with those. But particularly with something this size, you want it thin enough to where it feels light and looks light. If it feels light but looks heavy, then people don't want to be involved with it. You can also do this same thing. I'm just like pushing thumb against thumb like this to try and thin it out on the bottom, because I have a little bit more clay than I need on those. I'll smooth that out a little bit. Starting to get some cracks here, so I can just support it on the inside, blend it across like that. And then off we go. More pinching on this one to create that wall. I right now have it thinner down here at the bottom. I'm working with that first because that's the farthest away, and then I'm going to thin up the rim a little bit. This is doing a little bit of stretch pot stuff where I have it like this, and then I push out on the side. Once again, see if we can see that. Push out like that to try and get it. See, there was kind of a little bit of an air bubbly thing. You didn't want that. And so we just kind of take our time on making it thinner. And it's a tactile sort of thing, touch. Just by sense of touch, you can kind of feel where the thick spots are and the thin spots and try and make them somewhat even. Remember, you can be smoothing out the inside with your thumb, blending it across in this sort of a fashion as well. That's kind of cool. Okay, this is going to get a little bit bigger, and this you're going to see a little bit of the pulling to get it to go taller. So I'm here like this and pulling it this way with my fingers on the outside to raise up those walls a little bit. This hand's starting to get a little tired, so we're going to bounce over here. You can kind of see where I'm working my way around here, where it's thinner on this side, thicker on this side, and so I got to do this over here now. to get that up and a little bit taller, but working gradually. Now I will tell you this, on your projects, they're going to shrink through the process. They're going to be about 15 to 20%. They're going to shrink 15 to 20%. So a project that turns out like we have it this tall here on this sort of a thing is probably going to be maybe about this tall when we're done after it's fired, because the things become more compact. The clay particles fuse together, and so right now there's a lot of space between them, but if it fuses and vitrifies, becomes hard, turns into rock, all of those things start to happen, then all of a sudden we have getting it denser and smaller on those. And so I'm almost done pinching this one out, so I'm going to take a pause on the recording for just a second, because that's about 6 minutes. That's cool.